Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today we are going unashamedly fortune teller based. So there's often a bit of a debate actually in the spiritual community, in the reading community, about whether or not tarot is predictive and can be prophetic and oracles and so forth, or whether it is just for personal development. I tend to believe it's for both. I do believe that there are ways, just in the way that tarot is structured and even the way that oracle cards sometimes operate, that show you kind of probabilities and energies. And if you sort of resonate, understand what those are, you can sort of see the natural outgrowth of that, taking into account your character, your choices, and the energies that are around. And I think telepathy comes into it. And I have a whole theory about this, which I'm happy to share at some point if anybody ever wants to know. So I do think it's there, but I also think that there is a lot about knowing this sort of stuff, knowing yourself, and then making choices that can shift energy. So I sort of sit somewhere in the middle on all of it, but I do believe that there is a basis to this, to fortune telling. And I always wanted to do a reading that was really focusing much more on that. Though we will look at what you can do and what you can influence around this and what is more sort of outside of your control or coming externally and so forth as we go through it. But that's the idea. The inspiration to do it now is that I have been looking for a very long time for a tarot deck that would give me the same feeling as the tarot deck I saw being displayed, I guess, in one of my favourite TV series of all time, a TV series called Carnival. Now, if you're familiar with it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's an amazing sort of series that has the metaphysical and the fantastical and like a spiritual war within it, all set within the American Dust Bowl era, and looking at the war of light and dark within each generation. It's amazing. It's an amazing series which I love and only just rewatched recently. And if you are familiar with it, you will know it had an incredibly famous opening credit sequence, which was a whole bunch of newsreels from that era in America that then morphed into very beautiful tarot cards. And there was a tarot deck that came out, I think, with the series at the time, but unfortunately it wasn't the tarot deck that was shown there. This was incredibly beautiful and somewhat baroque. And certainly if you don't know the series, if you want to see what I'm talking about, I'd be very surprised if you couldn't find the opening sequence to Carnival somewhere on YouTube or something like that. And you'll see the sort of energy in what I was looking at. And in the series, there was a character called Sophie, who was a tarot reader. And I suspect that the choice of Sophie being like Sophia and wisdom and Gnosticism was not coincidental. And so there's a whole sort of like range of wonderful things for those who are into the esoteric and so forth in it. But I've always been looking for a tarot deck, given that they didn't create that tarot deck, unfortunately, one that would make me feel like it. And I recently came across something in my searches called the Antiquarian Tarot. I'll just show you quickly a few cards. So if you are familiar with the opening sequence of Carnival, you'll sort of see what I'm talking about. It seems to have sort of very real sort of photography from various sort of times in history connected in and morphed into the actual tarot itself. So that's the sort of feeling I've been looking for ages, so that I would feel that energy of Carnival, that energy of fortune, that energy of Sophie or Sophia as part of a reading. So I now finally have it. And the details, if you're interested in the deck, are like with all of my readings, with all of the decks, in the description box below. So that's a little bit of a long-winded introduction to why I'm doing this reading, but as I say, this is really about your fortune. So what I asked Spirit when I was doing this, I'm going to use a lot of decks that are really about fortune and divination in this, and I did ask Spirit to start with Madame Endora's fortune cards and to give me intuitively 3 parts of the fortune energy that would align to the readings in the collective. There are 2 other cards from that deck there that will be the beginning of the reading, and then we'll look into it much more with the tarot, and some other fortune cards then look at spirit team around you, your own divination skills, and a blessing to finish it off. So to help with the choice, pile 1, part of the fortune is going to be about the winds of change. It says your surroundings will undergo transition. Pile 2 has the wyvern, your secrets are safe. Pile 3 has the talisman, you are destined to succeed. Now, I did chuckle a bit, I have to say, when Spirit brought this one down to 3rd, and I thought everybody's going to go to pile 3. But what I would say is that I don't know what else is underneath here, and I would presume that there are moderations on all of it, and I would hope good fortune overall for everybody. So go with what feels right to you. If you can't feel it from that, you might go with the number of the reading, or it may be something else that makes you choose. And if you want to look at more than one, that's fine too. There might be messages across more than one. That's perfectly up to you. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, as always, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome to your fortune reading. I'm your fortune teller for today, Pile 1, and you have come to the reading that starts at least with the concept of change coming in. Part of your fortune with your surroundings will undergo a transition is saying something is going to shift. It could be your relationships, where you live, or where you work, your spiritual development. It could be anything, but I would suggest, given the other energies that we see here, that it has to do with relationship and connection in some way, because you also have the maiden, a new relationship blossoms, and the unicorn, good fortune and friendship. This suggests to me that whatever the change is that's coming in will be beneficial. That may bring in love, or if you are already in a loving relationship, may bring in a very, very good friendship that is connected to good fortune for you. So I would say that your fortune is connected to other people and the changes that other people will bring into your life. So when we are looking at what is external with the tarot, this is going to be particularly important, I think. But the energy is all very, very positive. What I also get is that there's almost a kind of an innocence about it with the maiden. There is sort of something new, fresh coming in. So if you have felt a bit stuck, you chose this maybe because you wanted to shift things along, there is a real sense of renewal. This feels like spring to me, springtime in some way, if not literally, depending on where you are in the world at the time you watch this, then within your life. And the unicorn is, of course, often thought of as something that is very special and unusual and different, something that is rare. So I feel that it is also saying that a rare, important relationship that brings significant change to your life is coming in. For some of you, this could presage a major relationship where you end up moving in with someone, getting married, moving overseas or somewhere else in the country. There's something connected with this, but it is very fortunate. So the first stage of your reading, of your fortune telling at this point is very fortunate connections coming in that cause you to change your life in good ways. So let's get into it with the tarot. Let's ask what you do see coming around all of this. What would not surprise you if the fortune teller was talking about this change or the energies coming in? Three of Pentacles, Ten of Wands reversed, High Priestess, Two of Pentacles. So I do think that something about bringing in these people and this good opportunity is very material. And you know this. You know that you've been working on material things, where you live, where you work, your finances, whatever it may be. You've been looking at how to connect with others to bring that into being, and you know you have some opportunities and choices around this. It's following a period where you've been very, very busy. So this is kind of like a reward energy coming in. It feels to me like a lot of it is connected to work or your vocation, or as I say, something material. It doesn't mean that it isn't bringing in love, because there is a sense that that could be happening if that's something you're looking for. But you know that you have created some foundations, made some good connections. Some of these good relationships are already in here. You may not yet fully know, with the Ten of Wands reversed, how this is going to relieve a burden from you. This winds of change coming in, Pile 1, is to clear out a lot of debris for you, is to give you a sort of sense of renewal, that springtime energy. You also know that you have divinatory abilities. You know that you are psychic. You know that you felt this coming. You've positioned yourself, and that you can use your intuition very wisely to make the right choices. For some of you, there could be a choice about what relationships and what type of relationships. There may be a number of people around you that you've connected to, and one of them you may be choosing, is it actually more? Is it something that maybe could be love? It doesn't have to be. It just depends on what's going on in your life at the moment. But you know that you can trust your intuition. You know that it will not steer you wrongly. So what don't you expect? So this is what you do expect. You do expect choices around material options. You do expect it to connect with other people. You do expect it to relieve you of some of the burden that you've done, and that you will have a really good intuition. But what don't you expect, pile 1? The Hermit, the Seven of Wands reversed, the Queen of Cups reversed, Judgment. Okay, so what you don't expect is something is going to come out of this. This winds of change is going to come through a lot quicker than you expect. So I feel like at the moment it looks like you know that you've been setting up the connections, the foundations, you sort of feel you're on the path and all that kind of thing. You can see a relief in sight, but something's going to come through quicker than you expect. It's like with the winds of change, there's a gust of wind that comes through and stirs everything up before you were prepared. So you've been thinking you have time to contemplate and work through this and align it to your spiritual vision and make sure everything is fine. But the reality is that is a decision coming that is going to need you to operate much faster than you expect. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the good fortune of this disappears if you don't, but it's like there's an opportunity that will not last for long. I feel like there's a potential here for some of you between friendships and collaboration and love. And you may not even recognize at the moment that that's the case. I think you can sort of see the great collaboration, but I feel like there could be an opportunity. You could get a surprise where somebody makes a declaration to you. Or you may feel that is where something is going, and when you want to make a declaration, you find that's not quite what the person wants, but there's something that's shifting and it requires a very quick decision. And it's fate-oriented in its very real sense. This is meant to be a reward for you, but you need to be able to act quickly. And you might at first feel a little bit worried about doing it. You might feel, so if this is that you are sensing that there's an opportunity around, say, love, and you're not entirely sure, and your instinct sort of tells that, but you're almost sort of like stepping back because you're not necessarily ready, there is definitely an indication here that if that's something you want, something to shift that in some way, there's a lot going for this, but you're going to have to make that decision without having all the emotional information. So you have to roll the dice a bit, I think, pile 1. So what can you influence in this situation, in this fortune? 10 of Cups reversed, 4 of Cups, Knight of Wands, Strength. Okay. What you can influence is understand how you deal with sort of passion and love. There is a lot about love in this, I think. If it's not, it's creativity. But there are patterns. Some of what's operating here, I think, is that you are now coming into a change where there's opportunities for different sorts of relationships, and they do have a lot of positivity to them, but they are going to require you to make decisions when you don't have all the information that you would like. And you have seen patterns, maybe in your family, it could be quite likely to be in your family with the 10 of Cups reversed, where emotional situations aren't discussed. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like you don't make the first move, you wait for the other person, whatever it might be. There's sort of patterning where it's not discussed, it's sort of held kind of in a sort of almost stagnant sort of situation. What you can control is breaking that pattern and taking a risk. You are in a strong position. Even if you, for instance, ask somebody out and it turns out that they want to just be friends, they'll still be friends. Even if you go forward with this and it doesn't fully become the long-term relationship, there's still a lot to be said for it. And it is you coming into being able to make those decisions and really start to build upon relationships. So there's a change here that's inviting you to be braver about this. And it's suggesting, I would say, for most of you, that you will get a good response. But you can't guarantee it, obviously. So let's see what's outside of your influence, because we might get a little bit more of an idea about what the response could be. So this is more the external, what's outside of your influence. Okay, the Tower reversed, Knight of Swords, 5 of Wands, a Hanged One. So some of this change, right from the start, the winds of change is there, and it is to bring in better things. And you are going to find good connections out of this. But what this is showing me is that there is also, quite apart from whether or not there's sort of issues around whether this is going to be about love, it's also about finding who will move forward with you and who are the right connections. Because what's happening externally is that everybody is feeling change in this situation. So an idea of what could be happening is you could be working with some people, and there could be some choices about new teams or new operations and so forth. And change is going on, and everybody is a little bit worried about it. With the Tower reversed, it's like people are trying to kind of incrementally change rather than really go with the change. But some are going to take this head on. And you may need to sacrifice certain things to find the right people, the right connections. So if this was about love, then there could be a sort of sense that the environment you're in doesn't easily open up that sort of conversation, but the amount of change and electric energy that is around requires it. And you might find there's some pushback from people if you try to work that through. But you almost have to be a bit stubborn about it. You almost have to be prepared to take the sacrifice. If this is not about love, so if these things are about patterns around creativity and moving forward and moving into your strength, there may be, when all this change is going on, an opportunity for you to step up into a position of leadership or power, but you will get some pushback and there may be some compromises required. But either way, remember the overarching fortune is good. I just feel that there's a shift, there's a change. Some things are leaving to let other things come in. And you can't just sit back and watch it anymore. There is actually a requirement for you to step into this and move with the change and move with that energy. Even if there's a few battles, or even if you sort of feel that you're exposing your feelings, your desires, whatever it might be, you have to be prepared to do that to get the fortune. Fortune favors the brave, I think, is what I'm hearing that sort of saying, you know. So there's change provides great opportunities for you, but not all the information that you would like. And you have to be prepared and expect some degree of pushback in some parts of this. But by and large, you're moving into something that is good. You just have to be aware that you may want to change a little bit quicker than other people. You'll find the right people though, but there'll be some pushback around it as well. If it's around a love relationship, it might be that you ask someone out and they're not ready yet. Don't necessarily, if that's the case, take it as a no for all time. It might just be a timing thing. Wait again till you see some of the shift happening with that person. Okay, pile one. Let's have a look at some other fortune energy around you. So let's first of all use the Lenormand and see what it can tell us also about this fortune around you. Clover. It's lucky. It's saying it again. Like, this is overall a good fortune, even if there are some struggles to go through with it and the change itself is a bit uncomfortable, it is good. Book, there is things you are meant to find out. You won't find out until you start to embrace the change. You're not going to have, you're used to having all the ideas because you are very psychic. You're used to being able to almost sit back and observe and almost be a journalist of life rather than living in life. And you have a tendency to sort of do that, but you will find out what you need to find out. There is more to learn. And fish, there is good fortune to come out of it. So certainly if this is around a workplace and the storming, norming and forming that happens with change, you are going to come out of this very well. If it is around a love relationship, then there is mutual beneficial energy coming from that relationship in the longer term. But you'll need to find out more about your partner, I think. Okay, let's have a look at Chinese fortune energy around you as well. Challenges. Yes, there are some challenges. Change always brings challenge, but remember, overall, this is good. But you do have to be prepared to step into the challenges. You have to know that what the fortune teller is telling you here is what is pretty much immutable is that changes are coming and there's going to be a little bit of storming and forming. There may be some sacrifices you need to make, but you are going in a good direction. It's the clearing out of the winds of change that's necessary, and some of it may happen a bit quicker than you expect. And work. Yeah, you have to do the work. I do think for many of you this is about work, though there is something in there potentially about a relationship. So some of you may form a relationship, a love relationship connected to work. But a lot of this, I think, is around your career, which definitely is good, therefore, with the clover and fish for coming out with better money, better outcomes. Let's also get you some astrology or numerology fortune energy as well, pile 1. Full moon. There is a harvest coming for you. You are, and you will be able to assess, move on, and lay the new seeds for something new. So there's a reward. There's reward coming. This change brings it. Even if it feels a little bit disruptive, it's going to ultimately be very, very good for you. Saturn. It may take a bit of time. You may need to go a bit slower than you want, though I do think it's going to be a bit weird. I think there's a kind of a push-pull in there. So I think something will happen quicker than you expect, and maybe other things will take a little bit more time with that tower reversed than you would like. Its timing is going to be important here. This is also about you coming into sort of a position of responsibility, I think. If it's about a relationship, it's moving into a more settled and more secure relationship as well. And 6th house, yeah, work again. Service to others. A lot of this is around work. Coming into a leadership position at work, coming into the harvest at work. But I think some of you, there's going to be a relationship as well associated with it, which is nice if that happens, if you're not already in a relationship. So let's get you some spirit guides, like a spirit team. We're going to get you a goddess or archetype, a animal totem, and then also an angel to watch over this fortune for you, pile 1. Santa Muerte. Okay, so that's the Mexican goddess of death. So it's all about change and also the celebration of change. And this is all about change. If you go with that energy, you go with her energy, then it can be an incredibly empowering sort of thing. And she holds a lantern. She helps with the light in that. You will, with the high priestess and the hermit, your spiritual knowing will help you. But change is inevitable. I feel it's a bit like the Tower card. Going with the change is the important thing to do. She brings things into balance and into justice. You will get your reward. You will get your reward, pile 1, definitely. Okay. An animal totem to help you. Sea otter, transformation. Yeah, it's all about change. You've definitely, if you got drawn to the winds of change, you've come to the right thing. You probably know. It was showing that you kind of know you've got the foundations for things. You're ready for the next step. Sea otter will help you with the transformation that's necessary within yourself and in your life and help smooth that if you're feeling a little bit like, oh my God, this is either going too fast or too slow or some combination of both. And then an angel to watch over this energy for you and to help guide you with your fortune. Angel of adventure. Yeah, look at it as adventure. Look at it as fun. You're going to find the people to travel with you, just like the sort of angel here is with their friends. You will have friends, you will have companions. Some of you will literally have love as associated with this as well too. But see it as an adventure. See change as something to be welcomed, not something to be feared. The transformation is going to be very, very positive. Like overall, the feeling about this is positive. So let's see what divination energy you have. If the fortune teller has told you this, and we saw at the beginning with the high priestess that you definitely have that ability, what are the sort of divinatory approaches that could help you in navigating this fortune and controlling it as much as you can? Because, sometimes there are things that we don't control in fortune, but much of it we can if we have this knowledge of it. So, geomancy, patience. I'm going to put that with Saturn. Geomancy is sort of like understanding sort of numbers, time and so forth. So that could be something to study if you're interested in it, or it could just simply be saying that part of your divination, part of your sense of this is to get that right sense of timing and being patient when it's necessary. We have footprints, direction. Yeah, having the direction that you need. If change is coming in, the main thing that you can do, the main thing you can influence is know what is the destination that you have. Then you can move with that energy more. You can move in the right direction. And Ogham, nature. Get out into nature. Get the feeling of nature. Meditate within sort of like forest areas. All of those sort of things will help you. I think the interesting thing about this is that this is actually talking more about having the patience to see some of this through. Some is going to be fast, some is going to be slow. Always having your sense of direction and making sure it's true to your nature, that your transformation is taking you to be more of yourself, because that will bring the right people in. You don't need a lot of extra divinatory stuff here because you actually do have a very strong instinct for it with the High Priestess. It's just that some of the impact of other people, their choices and the timing is going to make you sometimes feel a little bit at sea. That's why it's important to have the direction. That's why it's important to always go back to what do you truly want. Okay, so to finish off this fortune, so for you, change is coming in, better relationships, your harvest is coming in, your good fortune is coming in. Just as long as you go with the transformation, you have patience when it's necessary and you move quickly when it's necessary, because both are going to be required in this. What is the final blessing that this fortune brings to you today, pile one? A blessing of healing. Now that's interesting, given that when we were looking at, what either don't you expect, or I think it might have actually been what can you influence. We had the 10 of Cups reversed and the 4 of Cups reversed. And I said at that point that I feel like there is a pattern of being emotionally stuck that you got used to, maybe from your family or from the past or from past relationships, and moving into this and being dynamic and taking on the change and taking on leading the direction and so forth will move you out of that. So I think it will heal something. It will make you realize that if you have felt that you didn't get your just desserts before, you didn't get what your reward should have been, you didn't get recognized, you didn't get the love you wanted, all these things are shifting. The winds of change are coming in to bring that in. Better people, better connections, better outcomes. And that ultimately is a healing energy for you, so that you really start to understand your own inner knowing and how, if you follow your North Star, you will always be on point, rather than trying to fit into other people's ways of looking at things. So I hope that resonates for you, pile one. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile two, to your reading. So you came to the reading which said your secrets are safe. So if you were drawn to this specifically because you feel that you're in a bit of a difficult situation, or one that you have to be very careful, I think you're very right. Because the other parts of the fortune here, we have the wolf, beware who you trust, and the siren, a temptation may lead you astray. So this fortune is about, firstly, letting you know that whatever happens, whatever you do, you are protected, your secrets are safe, but it is saying to look carefully at those around you, and whether or not to trust all that are around you and so forth. There is a sense here that either you could be being drawn into a relationship, for instance, or to some sort of deal or opportunity where you wouldn't necessarily want other people to know, in which case think about what that means and be careful who you trust. It is suggesting, however, that anyone that you're telling this to, you probably can trust, because it's saying your secrets are safe. But you're a little bit in shark-infested waters at the moment by the looks of things. I think the fortune teller would say to you, okay, there's something a little bit, you may well be aware of what it is, or it may be that even something from your past or something that you wouldn't necessarily even have thought was an issue could be drawing you towards, as I say, a difficult scenario. So I think the fortune reading here is so that you can keep your secrets safe, and also so that you can navigate this and be around the right people. So let's get some tarot information. What do you know about this situation at the moment? Seven of Swords reversed, Six of Cups reversed, Eight of Cups, Five of Swords reversed. Okay. You know that you're in an environment where you have to be careful what you say, and where you have to be careful what you believe. Definitely. This could be in a workplace, it could be in a relationship, it could be in family, it could be from family things actually, with the Six of Cups reversed. There could be, like I'm getting, I'm not saying this is literally the case, but the sort of issues that can come up, say, when somebody passes on and you've got inheritances in the family and there's all these sort of intrigue about that, for instance. Not saying that's distinctly the thing. I'm just using it as an example. With the Six of Cups reversed, there's a sort of sense of a loss of innocence around the scenario that you're in, and potentially connection to family. It doesn't have to be connection to family. You're feeling that you need to move away from an emotional situation that hasn't been honest with you, I would say. You know that in doing that, you can relieve a lot of mental tension. But it's kind of like you don't know who to trust in this situation at the moment. And you're still maybe emotionally pulled towards something in relation to it, but you do know, like, who can you trust? What's real in this situation? And it's causing you a lot of sort of mental tension. So let's see, what don't you expect? What don't you see around this situation at the moment? Eight of Pentacles reversed. Queen of Wands reversed. Nine of Swords. Nine of Wands. Wow. Pile 2, I'm sorry. You're dealing with it at the moment, aren't you? The first thing that I would say, I think there's two different ways of reading this, and one is around a personal relationship and one is around kind of work or something to do with groups in some way, family, community or whatever. I want to look at the family and community thing first. The first thing I would say is what you don't realize is that you've been told something or taught something that's not right. That almost de-skills you, or that it has taken away from you the capacity to really operate autonomously. And this is because you're dealing with someone who is very, very egotistically prickly and does not feel as confident as they make out. And as a result, you're almost being made to feel guilty. This sort of feels like being around someone who's a bit narcissistic or who has some sort of issue around their ego, and they constantly play the victim. So you're constantly drawn into this emotional battle about whether you've done the right thing or the wrong thing, and you're constantly wondering about whether you have enough energy to keep going. But you don't realize that there's almost there's an ego thing under this, and it's a very negative sort of energy. This is siren. If this is in, say, a workplace or in a family dynamic or something, you've been told something that's not true. You've been made to take responsibility for something that wasn't yours. You've been told you have to carry the weight of this, and you may even have been told by someone when they've done something that's malefic that you did it, it's your fault. This is why you're sort of feeling your secrets, like what's going on. There's a very weird energy of mind manipulation going on. And if it's a relationship, it's not dissimilar really. It's kind of someone who's maybe got a lot of kind of ego issues, is not very confident, but doesn't want to kind of like deal with that. And so you're constantly looking after them, and they're constantly telling you you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing here, and you just keep going because you just don't know what else to do. This is why you're sort of heading towards needing to walk away from it. So, oh my goodness. Okay, pile 2. Let's have a look at what you can influence in this situation right now. Strength reversed. Knight of Pentacles. Ace of Swords. Okay, it's all about seeing it differently. You can actually do a lot with this by seeing it differently. And so I think going back to this original fortune that we saw, there is a manipulation going on. Whether or not it's deliberate doesn't even really matter. Part of that manipulation is making you feel guilty about something that you're worried about, how it would be seen if it came out. And it's keeping you like a siren call in something that's not working for you. You actually can escape this. It's just looking at it differently, having a different idea, trusting your own way of thinking about it. You are very by nature loyal, but it's actually in this situation sapping your strength. Most of the time it probably works very well for you. Most of the time it works well for most people. But at this point in time, your loyalty is your weakness. So whether it's to a workplace, whether it's to a person, whatever it is, it's your weakness. Thinking about it differently, not sacrificing yourself, is what you can influence. It makes a huge difference because it's saying your secrets are safe. There's a lot. If you were being told in a workplace that you were somehow connected to something and if you move on, you're going to take the blame, you won't. That's a whole heap of hot air and manipulation. And if someone is sort of like playing mind games with you as a narcissistic or sort of like a kind of emotional vacuum type of energy, you are not responsible for them and you can move on. So you really do have a lot in your hand, in your control. What is outside of your control in all of this? What is sort of fate associated with this fortune? Pile 2. Three of Cups reversed. Five of Cups reversed. Wow, the Devil. Three of Swords. It's almost inevitable. What this is saying is that you do need to separate from this. Even if it's painful, you do. What you were entrapped by whatever you've been told to sort of feel responsible for, or what is your secret. But the reality is your secrets are safe. It's cut the cord. You just need to move on as soon as you can. I mean, if this is a workplace, obviously you need to find a job and all those sort of things. But so do it carefully and quietly. Don't necessarily tell the people that you're looking for something else if that's the case. If it's a relationship, this has been obsessive. It's become an obsession. You need to sort of like think differently and separate out from this, because there is actually no way of making this work. There really isn't. So I think it's a bit of a tough love message here, but it's like you can move on. What is completely in your control is knowing that your secrets are safe and you can move on. You don't take on other people's viewpoints and you don't follow the siren call anymore. But you can't fix this. It's not your responsibility. And if somebody's tried to make it your responsibility, they're lying to you, whether it's conscious or not. Okay, sorry, it's a bit heavy, but let's have a look at some other fortune energy. Let's have a look at the Lenormand around this. Heart. So there's something to do with love here. Now, it could be, love for a workplace. It could be love for someone. There is something to do with love, but it's also potentially you could bring love in if you actually move beyond this. Your heart is being manipulated in one form or another. Your loyalty to a workplace, your loyalty to family dynamics that are really dysfunctional, your loyalty to somebody who's a lover who's just, as I say, emotionally a bit of a black hole. There's something like that going on. Then we have Tower. You have the strength. Tower here is not like Tower in Tarot. Tarot is actually something that is very strong. Your heart is very strong. It's very dedicated. That's not necessarily working for you at the moment, but when you find the right place, the right people, it can work for you. You're the right person in the wrong place at this point in time. So trust in your strength because it is considerable. And Sky, Scythe. You just need to cut off that which isn't working. That allows your heart to stay strong. It allows your destiny to stay strong. It gets you back on track. It's almost as though what's happened is your strength has been here, the thing that people, as I say, have been kind of feeding off. You need to cut the cords on that, definitely. Let's get some Chinese fortune energy for you. Wish. So, if you start to wish for what you want, not what everybody else wants, you can start to bring that energy in. Remember, your heart is strong. This is a very good sign. This is saying you can bring in a wish that you want. And the protection that you want when you're moving away, you will be able to have. Just wish for it. You will have it. It's just a lot of hot air. It's like if people are threatening they're going to say something, they won't, because it's almost like it would be more destructive to them to do it. And children. Okay. So for some of you, if this is around family, it could be a breakup and you need to be one of the things that your heart, connection to your children. But again, it's sort of like you need to find a different way of being if you have to separate, for instance. Otherwise it could be that this is about bringing back innocence and that sort of sense of like being able to begin again. Okay. Let's also get you some astrology and numerology energy. South Node, North Node. Yeah, this is fate. This is as much as anything to make you realise who you truly are, so you move towards what you should truly do and move away from patterns that aren't working for you. And I do think some of them came from childhood, with children there, with the Six of Cups reversed. And for some of you, this might be around some of the patterns in your family. Now, maybe you can't completely walk away from your family, but you can cut off the energy and the oxygen to the patterns that are going on around this. Yod, destiny. We'll have a look at the planets, but this is definitely you're being pointed towards what you're meant to do. It's almost like if this hadn't happened, you'd have got stuck and you're meant to sort of move on and do something more, find a better relationship, find a happier relationship pattern in general, find a better workplace, whatever it might be. And Saturn return. So for some of you, you may be in the time of the Saturn return, which is around about 28 to 30 or 58 to 60 or even 88 to 90. It comes about every 30 years. If not, this is a step of maturity. Moving out of the sort of patterns of childhood, the patterns of what you thought would bring about fortune. You're finding that with some people and in some situations, even having the truest heart and being really loyal doesn't fix the situation. So it is a bit of a loss of innocence. It's a bit of coming to maturity. So I want to have a look at what the planets are. So 2 planets that point towards another. So the 2 planets, to start off, I'll just deal out till I get them. Moon. So yes, emotions. There's a lot of emotion, a lot of hidden murky energy here, a lot that's hidden in general that needs to come to the surface. Moon and Jupiter. Yeah, and when Moon is operating negatively, it can be over the top. So there's something over the top in the emotional manipulation that's going on with this. But that energy is pointing you towards Chiron, healing. I do think for many of you this is a pattern right from childhood, and it may still be playing out in family in one form or another. But if it's in the workplace, it's you've been taught really young that you have to put others first. And sometimes that's a very wonderful thing to learn, and sometimes it's what families do to manipulate others, where think of others means they can always think of themselves because you're supposed to think about them as well too. So just look for the patterns. There's something there for you. Okay, let's get you a spirit team support to sort of help you. We'll start with a goddess or archetype, then a animal totem, and then also an angel. Because this isn't easy. You do have the strength to do it, but it isn't easy. So a goddess or archetype to help you. The maiden, okay. Yeah, the innocence, getting back to the innocence, getting back to freshness and springtime. You need to kind of like cut anything that is holding you back. The maiden is innocent, beautiful love. The siren is this sort of emotional vacuum. So I think the maiden is here to bring you towards much more positive connection so that your heart can commit in whatever this is, whatever you want to do, whatever area of your life this is happening. An animal totem for you, or a divine animal or power animal for you. The armadillo, groundedness. Yeah, I think you need groundedness. There's something really emotionally over the top in what you're dealing with at the moment. And it's manipulative, whether it's deliberate or not. It's manipulative. So you need that groundedness. Armadillo will help you with that. And then an angel to help you meet the best of this fortune, which is the getting the new idea, understanding it, having the aha moment, and stepping into what your truth is, not feeling trapped by this in some way. Angel of healing. Yeah, again, Chiron. Your fortune is definitely to move towards a more healed, better, more positive outcome. But you have to face what's going on. You have to recognize what's going on to get there. So to help you with that, let's look at what your divinatory skills might be. What can you sense within yourself to help you get that new idea, that new approach, and to sort of move towards the healing? Pile 2. Shag-eye, fragmented. This is probably how it feels at the moment. It's interesting, the bones there, that sort of sense of reading the bones and so forth. I do think a lot of this is like family patterns. If this isn't actually happening in your family, and I think for many of you might be, if it's in a workplace or even in a relationship, go back to something, whether it's what you experienced, whether it's something you witnessed, whether it's something in ancestral trauma. There's something there to understand. It will get you to understand why it was you took on the role of being the secret keeper and the strength and the loyal one, even when everybody else around you wasn't, because that I think is what's going on here. We have I Ching, change, bringing in change. The thing about the I Ching too, I mean, interestingly, it's sort of almost it's a bit like Sun Tzu Art of War. It's almost a kind of way for sort of change to go through and leaders to emerge and all that sort of stuff. So I think there's a kind of, you could be a leader, you could be a true leader from the heart, not from all this sort of like politics and mess that seems to be that you're dealing with. But you do need to take on the change, and there's a high degree of strategy with the I Ching. It might be worth using the I Ching and reading hexagrams. There could be something in that really helps you, but otherwise it's like understanding your capacity to change. and flowers, fickle. Okay. All right. I think, see, to me, it really interests me when this comes up and it says fickle, because I feel when I look at this like the red rose of alchemy, getting within your body and your spirituality and sort of like being true to yourself and getting to your heart. And I think that's part of this. But I think it is also understanding where energies around you in this case may not be as loyal as you. I think it may, in this case, this card may mean more of what that's saying there. Flowers sort of have their time and then they are gone, then they die off. So don't give this more oxygen than it should have, I think. Don't feel you have to be loyal to those that are not capable of loyalty back. Okay, so to finalise, we want to get you a blessing. So a blessing from the Fae as part of this fortune pile too. A blessing of the unseelie. Absolutely perfect for this. The unseelie do not put up with rubbish. The unseelie do not say yes to things that they should say no to. They are kind of born rebels. They are prepared to look into the dark. They are prepared to see what is really going on, and they are prepared to say no. So I think this blessing is to give you that strength, to know that you are not the person at fault here, even if others have tried to make you feel that way. You will be protected, and I think they will protect your secrets to the degree that you need them. I don't think you need that many secrets, but to the degree that you feel that you need them, they will keep them, because it's time for you to say no. It's time for you to arise and go for what, as I say, will be as loyal and as caring to you as you are to it. So it's a little bit of a tricky fortune, but it is ultimately positive. It just requires you to say enough and to say no. So I hope that that resonates for you, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So I joked at the beginning that if you're drawn to this, you're sort of drawn to something that's suggesting success, but who knows what else there is. But, you're pretty much drawn the right fortune here for success. You are destined to succeed. There is both let your intentions be known with the minstrel and the griffin here, honor and good luck. I think there's a couple of clues here, though, that Spirit is saying, and the fortune teller is telling you, that you are meant to succeed, but there are two things that are necessary, both to bring about the actual success in the first place, but also to sustain it. I think to bring it about, you can't just sort of sit and dream about it, and do a vision board and think you're going to manifest. You need to let people know. You need to connect with other people. You need your intentions to be known. There is something about communicating your vision, what you want to do, whether this be let your intentions be known because you want to be with somebody you love. You need to kind of tell them, like maybe sing them a beautiful song like the minstrel here. If it's around your career, you need to let people know that you are ambitious. You do want to go to that next level. If it's around something creative, you need to let the right people know. So there's something about communication, and there's something also about when you have good luck and you have success, be honorable with it. That could be anything like from sharing the credit where credit is due. It could be helping others and paying it forward. It could be not letting it go to your head and being an honourable person. It could be being a servant leader. There could be any of those things depending upon what it is. But I think this is saying really good fortune is coming in for you to succeed in something that you want to succeed in, or maybe even more than one thing. But you do have to do a little bit of work to make it happen, and you do have to stay true to your vision to make it sustainable. So let's get a little bit of tarot information. Let's start firstly about what you do know about this fortune. What, when the fortune teller is talking about it, would you go, yeah, I know that, that's true, that's absolutely right. So Ace of Pentacles reversed, Seven of Cups reversed, Four of Swords, King of Cups. Okay, so very interesting Ace of Pentacles here with the talisman. I feel like that's a very big positive Ace of Pentacles. And aces are always blessings, even when they're reversed. But this, if the fortune teller was to say to you, you are meant to succeed with this, but you haven't fully brought this into being yet. You've maybe even tried before and it hasn't quite worked, because you didn't quite figure out what it was you needed to do to make it work. But it's still there. There's still promise for it. And you are much more pragmatic about this now. You had a lot of dreams and visions for it, but not necessarily almost the business plan. You didn't really know, or the way to talk to the person you love. Whatever it was a little bit up in the air as opposed to something you could ground. So you've made an attempt at it, or you've sort of tilted at it a bit. You've learnt from that. You're ready to move on. And one of the things you know you need to do is stop just thinking about it. You've meditated and contemplated enough. You do need to get out there. King of Cups has a very eloquent way. It's interesting. King of Cups makes me think of music, minstrel. So some of you, this may be literally about music in some way, but it doesn't have to be. It may just be that you have a very eloquent way of expressing what you want now. You've thought about it enough. You're ready to sort of like get that message out there. And you have a lot of emotional heft to what you're going to do here. If this is about a declaration of love, you will be received very well. If this is about something creative, it will be very resonant to people. If this is about something in a career, you will be taking on success in a way that people see as heart-centered. But you've got to talk about it. You've got to stop just resting all the time. Yes, it might not have worked at first, but it's going to. You've done the work that you needed to do internally. You now need to say something. So what don't you expect? So if you went, yeah, that's right, I've been trying to do this for a while, and I've kind of figured out what I need to do, and I'm ready to sort of say something. I've kind of like been prevaricating for a bit, but I'm ready to say it. Then what don't you expect in this fortune? What might you either need to look out for, or what might come in and help you in a way that you really wouldn't have ever anticipated? Six of Wands reversed. Two of Wands reversed. High Priestess reversed. Page of Wands. So what you don't expect is that it may take a little bit of time. You are destined to succeed, but it may take a little bit of time for this to really be seen. With the Six of Wands reversed, I think you think, okay, I've worked it out now, I just need to speak it and it's going to come into being. But I think it's going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take a little bit of time to get its audience. If it's, say, it's something creative, if it's a workplace thing, it may take a little bit of time for your readiness to be seen and for the right decisions to be made. And you may go through a period of time of feeling like, how do I work the system? It's interesting. The High Priestess reverse can mean a number of things, but one of the things it can mean is the mysteries are brought to the surface. So there's something about an initial, and it may even be what you've been through. In fact, it may be that what you haven't fully realized yet, and this is what you can really start to use, is that if it didn't work before and didn't take, it was teaching you something about the system. The system, whatever you're dealing with, is not so mysterious. So if this is someone you're in love with and you kind of made a sort of move towards them and it didn't get, I don't think it would have really necessarily been rebuffed, but maybe it wasn't understood, then you found out something, or you're going to find out something through that process of what happened to make you understand, if you really think about it, what the issue was. And if it's around something creative or work-wise, it's like the very act of something not working out, or if you start to move forward with it taking a little bit of time, it's all really to let you understand the system that you're operating in so that you can refine your vision, refine your passion, and sort of, re-prosecute your wishes for love, if that's what it is, or, something creative that you're doing or so forth. It's like there is still work to be done on your ultimate ambition. And there's still work kind of like around what that ambition is compared to your vision of it with the King of Cups. So you're further along with the emotional heft of this than how you would really want it to play out. And so what you don't realize, I think, is that the blocks that you've had, or any that you might have as you sort of keep stepping through this, are to teach you the system that you're operating with, or the person that you're dealing with, so that you know better how to kind of connect with them. So what in this environment, therefore, can you influence, and how? The Star, Page of Swords reversed, Emperor reversed, Page of Pentacles. Okay. You can inspire people. There is something very beautiful about the way that you will speak. If you are ultimately in love and wanting somebody to fall in love with you, you will be able to do it. It is meant to happen. You'll be able to find the beautiful words, the beautiful music, or whatever it is. If this is around creativity or career, you will inspire people. You are very, very inspirational, actually, the way that you communicate. That's why hiding away is just not going to work. Once you start doing that, that's when you really start bringing that in. and you'll cut through a confusion in communication. So some of you may be in a workplace, for instance, that is lacking hope at the moment and lacking clarity. You can bring that in. You can influence it by understanding what's going on, understanding how's the system operate, what have you learned, and not just watching it from the distance, now actually being the person who leads out. You can influence how power operates around you, or your side of your divine masculine. It doesn't matter what gender you are or identify with, but that you can influence how you process power. And this is partly about the honor and how you deal with those potentially in the environment that are maybe not doing that properly. So you have influence over power, particularly power that is not legitimate in some way, because you have a vision that is practical. You can develop, it's like a business plan. It's like, you've got this Ace of Pentacles, what you needed to do, and you've kind of done it, I think, is you've worked out your business plans. Now time to communicate that and inspire people. And you can shift this energy where there's been blocks. And if it is around love, you can shift any sort of concerns a person may have about, are they losing power by being in a relationship? Whatever they might have as confusions, you can actually give a sense of stability to it. But what is being impacted by others, and it's kind of out of your control, that you need to be aware of. King of Pentacles, Death reversed, Three of Pentacles, Temperance. There's somebody whose decision matters here that you can't rush, even if you want to. So if this is around sort of someone that you're in love with, and don't go by the gender again, that doesn't really matter, because I don't know what gender all the people are coming in or your preferences. But there is, if you are looking for the King of Pentacles, King of Cups, a kind of a partnership, whether it be a work partnership or it be a love partnership, you can't rush this. This person takes their time. And that might be something that you've had to learn, that you were ready before other people were ready. Once you understand that, they will meet you. There will be the capacity to collaborate, to connect, to build together, whatever it might be, and it will come into balance. And if it is around a relationship, it will come into balance. So that is going to happen. That is why it says you're going to succeed. But you can't hurry it, because it depends on other people, a lover, workmates, creative partners, whatever it is. And there's at least one person involved in this that will take their time, and you're just going to have to sigh and wait and let that happen. But you are destined to succeed. And part of the honor, I think, is to honor that people work at different speeds. And that's how you truly collaborate, and that's how you truly bring balance. So I think you have the wisdom to do it, but I think you haven't articulated it yet. The more that you articulate it, the quicker this person is going to be able to shift and understand and so forth. So let's get some other fortune energy for you. Let's have a look at Lenormand energy around this. Lily. Okay, so it may be that sometimes this is about nervous tension. Sometimes it's about health issues. So if any of you are coming here and it's about wanting to sort of have a better health regime and so forth, and do what is necessary for that, then this would presage that, taking the time out, and or that you've gone through some form of convalescence. It's now over, you're now ready to go. But it's good if that's the case, in that you will heal. But if other people have needed to heal or get over something to be ready, like if this was a love relationship and somebody wasn't ready because they're still healing from another one, give them the time to do that. Understand they need to withdraw a bit as well too. So there's something here about healing. Ship. So there's movement, there's progress coming in. It's not going to stay stuck forever. So if it feels a little bit stuck, it's getting rid. The more that you communicate, the more you commune, the more that you're going to move that along. And this is, traditionally your ship has come in. So, good fortune is definitely coming. And cross. Okay. Something is watching over you spiritually. So you have very strong, it'll be interesting when we get to the spirit team, you have very strong spiritual guidance around this to help you understand, to give you the patience, to give you the capacity and the honor. There's a lot of honor about this. So this could be a passed on loved one, but it could also be, as I say, a very strong spirit guide that's watching over this, making sure the timing works, making sure your ship comes in. Okay, let's get you some Chinese fortune as well, pile 3. Forgiveness. Okay. You may need to forgive someone for going slower. You may need to forgive yourself for something not having worked out before so that you can move forward. There may be some sort of things even ancestrally to forgive and let go so that you can move into your power and into your fortune. There's some energy there that you need to consider. This could be the healing energy, actually. Family, yeah, probably around family. Maybe you're going to do better than your family, and you need to be able to forgive yourself for doing that, and to do it with honor. That's possible. Or maybe you're going to be doing something that's very different to what your family would have approved of, or love somebody very different to what your family would have approved of, or something like that. You need to be able to sort of like own that in yourself, be honorable, forgive those that find it hard to deal with it, all of that sort of thing. There's something in that space for you. Let's see some astrology and numerology energy. Midheaven. A lot of you, this is around career or who you want to be in the world and how you want to be seen in the world. This is why I get the sense of servant leadership, or very creative, like being seen very creatively and very, very inspirational to others. Virgo, being grounded. That's that Page of Pentacles, like kind of really understanding what you want to do in material terms and how that can be sustained, and being healthy, emotionally and otherwise, to really, really embrace that. Again, if you have been dealing with any health issues, this is a good sign that they are going to heal. You are going to be able to move forward. And Venus. And if you want love, creativity, joy, you're also able to bring that in. And in fact, there's something beautiful about what you are meant to do in the world. This is why you can't just be quiet. This is why we've got the minstrel. Okay. So who are your spirit team? As I said, we know that there is a significant spirit team around you. So in this case, I'm getting you a goddess or archetype, a animal totem, and an angel. So just as a spirit team around your fortune, pile 3. So firstly, Oya, the goddess Oya. So she's a goddess of breakthrough, transformation, change. So there is a breakthrough coming. So that right at the beginning, yes, something was blocked, something wasn't happening, but you are ready. You're having a breakthrough. And it could be a health breakthrough too, if there's been something that you've been dealing with there. I also feel because she's sort of the goddess of sort of endings and beginnings and life and death and destruction and creation, you may be a medium, I think. Have a very strong connection to those, who have passed on, either that you knew or even from earlier in your family. There's some very strong lineage here that I think she is connecting you to. Let's see what power animal you have around you in your spirit team. Pile 3. Hair, cycles. So this allows you to, this is coming back around again, and it's going to succeed this time. I think hair is letting you know that there are cycles, letting you know that your time is coming. And that I do think there's almost a pay it forward type energy to this too, that to sustain that, to keep those cycles working in your favor, you also need to pay it forward. And I think hair will help you do that. Let's also get you an angel. Angel of manifestation. Yeah. Ace of Pentacles turned around, the talisman. You are going to succeed. You are going to be able to manifest something now. It is your time, but you need to almost speak it or sing it into being, and you need to be very clear on your intentions. And then you need a plan, and you need to also pay it forward. All the things. Well, a friend of mine who's very, very good at manifestation kind of says it this way. He says that he always knows that he can draw things in that he needs, but he also knows that when somebody comes into his business, he does a sort of service delivery role of a type. When he has a client that he feels needs support, he has to be there for them. He pays it forward. He understands it. He says it's like being in the club. And I think that's a really good way of putting it. It's sort of like if you understand that there is a responsibility as well as a glory in having success, and if you want it to sustain, manifestation does have that bit associated with it as well too. So let's look at some divinatory skills that you have, or powers that you could use to help you define your future and take it forward after this visit to the fortune teller, pile 3. Tarot. Okay. So tarot readings are good for you. You know, tarot, and this tarot reading is really being very clear with what you need to do. But it would be worth you, either seeing tarot readings more often or maybe learning tarot. You could be very, very good at doing tarot yourself. Footprints, direction. This came up for another reading. I feel this is about really having a clear idea on what your light on the hill is. That way you are clear in your communication, you can bring it in, and you're honourable in the way that you live by what it is that you say you value. And pendulum, decision. So I think you are very good at divination, actually. Pendulums, tarot, things like that may help you at points where you need to make decisions to build and sustain what this is. So use those. I think they would work well for you. If you know what your direction is, then you can use these as your navigation tools to stay on course. Okay, so to finish off, we just want to get a blessing from the Fae for you. I mean, it's a pretty powerful, positive reading, this, really, but let's just see what blessing from the Fae would complete your fortune-telling experience today. Pile 3. A blessing of the Seelie. So this makes perfect sense, because this is being, in a sense, welcome to the Seelie court, and you only get welcome to the Seelie court when you are honourable and you have done good. And therefore you have the blessing of the Seelie, you have good fortune. So this is good fortune you deserve. You've done the right thing, and that's why you're likely to be able to sustain it and have honour. There is something deeply honourable about you, even if it's been painful and you've needed to heal because of things. You really have that, and your ship is really coming in. So this is very much a sort of a positive energy to say, move forward, do what you are doing. It is a big yes from the universe and a yes from the Seelie, from the Fae. So very, very positive energy. May you make the most of it. May you pay it forward. May you start a legacy of something that is great and honourable and successful, Pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.